Bad blood doesn't just exist in the wrestling ring. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 real-life wrestling feuds. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the rivalries that transcend the in-ring feuds and take a peek at when they spill out into real life. No matter what federation these feuds began in, they eventually found their way to the WWE and became the source of much chatter backstage and online. Number 10, JBL vs. the Blue Meanie. This feud started after the Blue Meanie left WWE for the first time in 2000 and made some comments about JBL online, but it escalated at the ECW reunion pay-per-view One Night Stand in 2005. Meanie called JBL a bully and an asshole in a web interview, and Bradshaw never forgot about it. So when the two met again in a WWE vs ECW brawl at One Night Stand, JBL beat the ever-loving hell out of the Blue Meanie for his comments, leaving him bruised and bloodied. Barbs between the two would be traded back and forth over the years, but they eventually made up and are currently Twitter buddies. Number 9, CM Punk vs Ryback. Ryback was red hot in the WWE back in 2012. The big guy was being fed top talent and crushing them on his way to a series of top-tier matches with CM Punk. But after working together a few times, Ryback claimed that Punk went to WWE management, claiming that he was dangerous in the ring and that Punk no longer wanted to work with him. Of course, being champ, Punk got his wish, and the blow to Ryback's career was immense. He'd eventually leave the company in 2016. Punk claims that working with Ryback shaved years off his career and continues to be very critical of the big guy's in-ring work. Number 8, Mick Foley vs Ric Flair. In his first book titled Have a Nice Day, Mick Foley made some legit criticisms of Ric Flair during his WCW days. Mainly that he seemed to wrestle the exact same match over and over again. Of course, Flair took great offense to these comments and came back at Foley, calling him nothing more than a glorified stuntman, and claiming the only reason he made it to the top of the WWE was because he was willing to accept insane levels of punishment. The shots continued back and forth for some time, and the two Hall of Famers even used their heat with each other to have a few spectacular matches before making up and becoming friends. Number 7, Chris Jericho vs Goldberg. In WCW in the mid-90s, Goldberg was the guy, while Chris Jericho was struggling to be recognized as a top talent. Because of this, Goldberg refused multiple times to work with Jericho, which upset Y2J greatly. Eventually, Jericho would call out Goldberg on WCW TV, angering management, who then booked Jericho into a squash match against Goldberg, to which Y2J refused. The heat between the two spilled out over to WWE, and in 2002, Jericho and Goldberg got into an incident backstage where the two got into a screaming match and Jericho put the much bigger Goldberg into a headlock. Number 6, Eric Bischoff vs Bret Hart. The excellence of Execution's run in WCW was anything but excellent, and Eric Bischoff was very vocal over this very fact. While Bret claims that Eric knew nothing about the wrestling business and booked his WCW run poorly, Bischoff claims that Bret was an absolute nightmare to work with during this time due to his negative attitude and lack of passion, and that's why the Hitman's WCW run was a failure. Bret fired back, calling Bischoff a loser maggot, and the whole thing devolved even further from there. This is one of those real-life feuds where we have very little hope of the two ever kissing and making up. Number 5, Edge vs Matt Hardy. This real-life feud got a wee bit personal, as it involved Matt Hardy's girlfriend Lita cheating on him with the rated R superstar Edge. Interestingly enough, however, the two didn't feud back and forth in the dirt sheets, but instead saw their feud play out on WWE TV. And financially speaking, it made a lot of sense, as, no doubt, the two men hated each other at this time. Thus, it's really hard to tell where the actual tensions end and storyline heat begins, but it's fair to say that both men used real emotions to underpin their feud on live TV, but somehow they managed to break the bread later down the line. Number 4, Hulk Hogan vs Randy Savage. Talk about deja vu. Here's another love affair between three top WWE stars that played out in front and behind the cameras. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage were undeniably the two biggest stars in WWE during the early 90s, and their tag duo, aptly named the Mega Powers, was fronted by Macho Man's wife, Elizabeth. A TV angle that saw Hogan and Elizabeth's relationship come into question eventually split the superhuman tag team and, shockingly, came to pass in real life as well. Macho was none too pleased and resented Hogan almost until his death in 2011, but luckily the two would finally bury the hatchet months before his passing. Number 3, CM Punk vs The Authority. Punk makes his second appearance on the list in a much more publicized feud with two of WWE's most powerful people in Triple H and Vince McMahon. Punk has long claimed that Triple H kept younger talent down in an effort to put himself over, and that he's only in the position he's in because he's married to the boss's daughter. The game denies these claims, of course, and it was rightfully upset by them, calling Punk a diva for his erratic behavior backstage and his constant complaining. There's no love lost between Mr. McMahon and Punk either, as their long-standing beef led to Punk's infamous pipe bomb promo that lit up the internet in 2011. Number 2, Vince McMahon vs Bret Hart. Once WWE's frontman, Bret Hart was told by Vince McMahon that his current 20-year contract was unaffordable, and that he should seek to wrestle elsewhere. The incidents that followed, including the Montreal Screwjob, are the stuff of legend and part of the brilliant documentary Hitman Hart: Wrestling with Shadows. Bret felt betrayed, while Vince felt that Bret screwed Bret. Further, the Hitman's younger brother, Owen, died in a stunt gone wrong on a WWE pay-per-view in 1999, an incident that Bret deeply disapproved of and placed at the feet of Mr. McMahon. Bret has since made amends with WWE, but one has to wonder just how far he'd trust its owner considering their long, stormy past. Number 1, Shawn Michaels vs Bret Hart. It's no shock that Shawn Michaels vs Bret Hart is the number 1 real-life feud, considering their bitter hatred for one another led to one of the finest eras in wrestling, the Attitude Era. Feuding in and out of the ring, the tension came to a boil at 1997 Survivor Series, aka the Montreal Screwjob, where Michaels along with Vince McMahon duped Bret out of the WWE title. Though the pair would battle publicly for many years afterward through shoot interviews, trading barbs with each other in a game of one-upsmanship, they claim to have put the past behind them and moved on. Here's hoping they can both forgive and forget. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.